You're just a black opportunist. The words cut like a blade. In a crowded hospital lobby, Sophia, a brilliant black surgeon, faces venomous prejudice. Her husband, Dylan, a CEO crippled by a car accident, lies dying from a botched surgery. Sophia begs to save him with her groundbreaking technique, but his family and his ex, Emily, sneer, dragging up old wounds to discredit her. Then Dylan, clouded by pain and pressure, slaps her publicly, shouting, "Don't ruin everything!" Stunned but unyielding, Sophia vows, "You'll regret this, Dylan," and plans a secret surgery. Will she save him? Can she shatter their bias? Subscribe now, share where and when you're listening, and stay tuned to uncover the truth behind this gripping tale. The chandelier's glow bathed the penthouse in gold, but Sophia felt a chill. She stood in the sleek living room, her reflection sharp in the floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the city's skyline. Her fingers traced the edge of a medical journal, her latest research on bone regeneration dog-eared and underlined. At 32, Dr. Sophia Carter was a force, a black surgeon whose name echoed in hospital corridors for her innovative techniques. Tonight, though, her confidence wavered, not from doubt in her skill, but from the venom in the voices she'd overheard. She'd come home early from the hospital, her scrub still faintly scented with antiseptic, expecting to find Dylan prepping for his keynote at tomorrow's tech summit. As CEO of Nexus Innovations, Dylan Marshall was a titan, his charm and sharp mind commanding boardrooms and headlines alike. Their marriage, a whirlwind of passion and defiance against his elite white family, had seemed unbreakable. But as Sophia slipped through the front door, she caught the tail end of a hushed conversation in the study. "She's not one of us, Margaret," a voice hissed. Dylan's mother, Eleanor, her tone dripping with disdain. "A lucky catch, that's all she is. Dylan needs someone suitable." "Like me?" another voice purred. Emily, Dylan's ex, the golden-haired darling of his family's inner circle. "He'd be back with me if she hadn't sunk her claws in." Sophia froze, her heart pounding like a gavel. She pressed herself against the wall, the journal slipping to the floor. Eleanor's reply was a blade. "Exactly, dear. We'll bring him back to someone worthy." The words seared. Sophia's mind raced. Worthy? She'd fought through med school, through sneers and sidelong glances, to become a pioneer in orthopedic surgery. She wasn't just Dylan's wife. She was his equal, his partner. Yet here was his family plotting to unravel her life like it was a cheap thread. She stormed into the study, her dark eyes blazing. Eleanor, poised in a cream silk blazer, flinched. Emily, lounging with a wine glass, smirked. "Eavesdropping, Sophia?" Emily said, her voice honeyed with venom. "I don't need to eavesdrop to know what you think of me," Sophia shot back, her voice steady despite the fire in her chest. "You call me lucky? I earned my place. Here, in my career, in Dylan's life." Eleanor's lips curled. "You're out of your depth, dear. This family has standards." "Standards?" Sophia laughed, sharp and fearless. "You mean prejudice. Say it plainly, Eleanor. You hate that I'm black." The air thickened. Emily stood, her blue eyes glinting. "Don't make this about race. Dylan deserves someone who fits his world." "His world?" Sophia stepped closer, unflinching. "I'm his world. And you're delusional if you think you can slink back into it." "Enough!" Dylan's voice cut through, his tall frame filling the doorway. His tie was loose, his blonde hair disheveled from a long day. His blue eyes darted between the women, settling on Sophia with a flicker of unease. "What's going on?" Sophia turned to him, her heart a tight knot. "Your mother and Emily think I'm not good enough for you. Care to weigh in?" Dylan's jaw tightened. He glanced at Eleanor, then Emily, who tilted her head with a coy smile. "Sophia, you're overreacting," he said, his voice low. "This is just family talk." "Family talk?" Sophia's voice rose, incredulous. "They're plotting to push me out, Dylan, and you're just standing there?" "Sophia, please," he said, stepping toward her, his hands raised. "Let's not do this now." Her breath caught. She'd expected him to stand by her, to shut down their venom. Instead, his deflection felt like a betrayal, small but sharp. "Not now," she echoed, her eyes searching his. "When then?" When they've convinced you I'm not worthy? Dylan's silence was deafening. Eleanor cleared her throat, her smile triumphant. We only want what's best for Dylan, she said. You understand, don't you? Sophia's hands clenched. Oh, I understand perfectly. She turned to Dylan, her voice steady but laced with pain. I thought you were better than this. She grabbed her journal and strode out, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The city lights blurred through her unshed tears as she reached the elevator. Inside, she leaned against the wall, her mind racing. She wasn't just fighting for her marriage. She was fighting a legacy of prejudice, one she'd faced her whole life. Her research, her skill, her love for Dylan, they were her weapons. But tonight, she felt the first crack in her armor. Back in the penthouse, Dylan sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. Emily lingered, her hand brushing his shoulder. She'll come around, she murmured, or she won't. Dylan didn't respond, but his eyes lingered on the doorway where Sophia had stood. He'd built an empire, faced down corporate sharks, but this felt like a battle he wasn't ready for. Sophia was his rock, his fire, yet the weight of his family's expectations pressed harder than he'd admit. Sophia, now in her car, gripped the steering wheel. She wasn't naive. She knew Dylan's world came with strings, but she hadn't expected him to falter so soon. Her phone buzzed with a text from her colleague. New trial data's in. Your bone region method's a game changer. A spark reignited in her chest. They could doubt her worth, but they couldn't doubt her brilliance. She'd proved them wrong, not just for herself, but for every door they tried to slam shut. As she drove into the night, the city's pulse matched her own. This was only the beginning. The shadows of prejudice loomed, but Sophia Carter was no stranger to fighting through darkness, and she'd be damned if she let them dim her light. Sophia's car hummed through the city's neon veins, the dashboard clock glowing 11:47 p.m. Her fingers tightened on the wheel, the sting of Dylan's silence still burning in her chest. She'd left the penthouse an hour ago, her journal clutched like a lifeline, its pages holding her dreams of revolutionizing orthopedic surgery. But now those dreams felt distant, overshadowed by Eleanor's venom and Emily's smug purr. Sophia wasn't just fighting for her marriage, she was up against a legacy that branded her an outsider. At a red light, her phone buzzed. A voicemail from Dylan. Sophia, come home. We need to talk. His voice was strained, but she deleted it without listening to the rest. Talking wouldn't erase his hesitation, his failure to stand up for her. She needed answers, not apologies. She pulled into the hospital parking lot, its fluorescent lights casting stark shadows. Her office, a sanctuary of charts and research, waited on the 5th floor. As she rode the elevator, her mind replayed Eleanor's words. She's not one of us. The phrase wasn't new. Sophia had heard it in med school, in boardrooms, in whispered asides. But from her husband's family, it cut deeper. In her office, she sank into her chair, the faint hum of the hospital grounding her. She opened her laptop, fingers flying across the keys. If Eleanor and Emily thought they could dismantle her life, they'd underestimated her. Sophia wasn't just a surgeon. She was a hunter of truth. And something in Eleanor's tone, that mention of standards, hinted at a deeper grudge. She started digging, searching old medical records and public archives. The name Marshall brought up a news article from 7 years ago. Tragic loss of Marshall heiress in surgery mishap. Dylan's younger sister, Claire, had died at 19 during a routine heart procedure. The article mentioned a Dr. James Carter as the surgeon, a name that made Sophia's breath catch. Carter wasn't her blood relative, but the coincidence stung, especially when she saw the comments below the article. Venomous and racial, blaming the black doctor for incompetence. Sophia's pulse quickened. Was this why Eleanor despised her? A blanket hatred born of grief and prejudice? She cross-referenced the hospital's internal database, her access as a senior surgeon granting her clearance. The records were sparse, sealed under privacy laws, but one detail stood out. Dr. Carter had been suspended, his career ruined, with no clear evidence of malpractice. Something didn't add up. Her phone buzzed again. Dylan texting this time. Where are you? I'm sorry about tonight. She ignored it, her focus razor sharp. If the Marshalls blamed her for their loss just because of her skin, she'd uncover the truth behind Claire's death. It wasn't just personal, it was professional. The next morning, Sophia stood in the kitchen of their penthouse, brewing coffee as dawn bled through the windows. Dylan rolled in, his suit crisp despite the shadows under his eyes. He'd clearly not slept either. "Sophia," he said, his voice soft, "last night was a mess. My mom, she's set in her ways. You know that." Sophia turned, her gaze icy. "Set in her ways? She called me a fluke, Dylan, and Emily's plotting to bring you back. You didn't say a word to defend me." He winced, running a hand through his blonde hair. "I was caught off guard. Emily's just... she's family, practically. It's complicated." "Complicated?" Sophia's voice rose, sharp as a scalpel. "She's your ex, Dylan, and your family thinks she's better for you because she's white. How's that complicated?" His face reddened. "That's not fair. I chose you. I love you." "Then why didn't you shut them down?" she demanded, stepping closer. "You let them talk like I'm some gold digger who lucked into your life." Dylan's jaw clenched. "You're digging into things that don't concern you? My family's private, Sophia." Her heart sank. Private? She was his wife, not an outsider. "Private?" she echoed, her voice low, dangerous. "You mean like Claire's death? You never told me a black doctor was blamed. Is that why your family hates me?" His eyes widened, caught off guard. "How did you... That's not what this is about." "Then what is it?" she pressed. "Because I'm starting to think there's more to Claire's story than you've let on." Dylan stood, his chair scraping the floor. "Don't go there, Sophia. That's my family's pain, not your investigation." Her chest tightened, but she held his gaze. "If it's why they're tearing us apart, it's my pain too." He turned away, his shoulders rigid. "You're making this worse. Emily's just a friend. My mom's... difficult. Let it go." Sophia's hands trembled, but her voice was steel. "I don't let go, Dylan. Not when I'm being erased." She grabbed her bag and headed for the door, her mind already on the hospital records. If Dylan wouldn't give her answers, she'd find them herself. As she stepped into the elevator, her phone pinged. A text from an old colleague. "Found something on Claire Marshall's case. Call me." Her heart raced. The shadows of the past were creeping closer, and Sophia was ready to drag them into the light. Outside, the city buzzed, unaware of the storm brewing in her life. Dylan's empire, his family's legacy, Emily's schemes. They were all walls closing in. But Sophia had built her empire, brick by brick, through every sneer and slammed door. She wasn't just fighting for love, she was fighting for truth. And no one, not even Dylan, would stop her from cutting through the lies. Sophia's phone buzzed relentlessly as she navigated the hospital's sterile halls, her white coat flapping with each determined step. It was 6:32 a.m., and her colleague's cryptic text about Claire Marshall's case still burned in her mind. She'd barely slept, her thoughts a tangle of Dylan's betrayal and the mystery of his sister's death. But before she could call back, her pager screamed, an emergency alert from the trauma ward. Her heart lurched as she read the name. Dylan Marshall. She sprinted to the ER, the world blurring past. The news hit like a freight train. Dylan's car had skidded off a rain-slicked highway at dawn, crashing into a guardrail. A fractured femur, complex and jagged, confined him to a wheelchair, threatening his ability to lead Nexus Innovations. Sophia burst into the trauma bay, where Dylan lay, pale and grimacing, his suit torn, blood staining his shirt. His blue eyes met hers, a flicker of relief drowned by pain. "Sophia," he rasped, gripping her hand. I'm sorry about yesterday." "Not now," she said, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. She scanned his chart. Compound fracture, risk of nerve damage. Her groundbreaking bone regeneration technique could save his mobility, maybe his career. "I can fix this," she told him, her confidence a shield. "Trust me." Before he could respond, Eleanor stormed in, her pearls glinting under the fluorescent lights. "You will not touch him," she snapped, her voice a whip. "We've requested Dr. Reynolds, a real expert." Sophia's jaw tightened. Dr. Reynolds, a seasoned but conventional white surgeon, was no match for her method. "Eleanor, my technique is Dylan's best shot at walking again." "Like that black doctor who killed Claire?" Eleanor spat, her eyes venomous. We won't risk it. Dylan's hand slipped from Sophia's, his silence a fresh wound. She stepped back, her pulse pounding. I'm his wife, she said, voice low but fierce, and I'm the best surgeon for this. Emily appeared at Eleanor's side, her presence like a shadow creeping over Sophia's light. Dylan needs stability, not experiments, Emily said, her tone syrupy with concern. She placed a hand on Dylan's shoulder, her fingers lingering. I'm here for you, Dylan. Sophia's stomach twisted. Emily's care was a performance, but the hospital staff noticed, their whispers already spreading. By noon, the media caught wind. Paparazzi swarmed the hospital, their cameras flashing like vultures circling. Online, headlines screamed, CEO's wife unfit to save him? Social media churned with vitriol, branding Sophia a diversity hire who'd trapped Dylan. The comments stung. She's out of her league. Let Emily take care of him. Sophia retreated to her office, her hands shaking as she scrolled through the hate. She wasn't just fighting Dylan's family. She was battling a world eager to tear her down. Her phone lit up with a text from her colleague, Dr. Malik. Claire's case file has gaps. Meet me tonight. Hope flickered, but it was drowned by a new notification. A viral post from Emily, a selfie with Dylan in his hospital bed, captioned, supporting my oldest friend through this tragedy. The likes poured in, each one a knife to Sophia's heart. She couldn't stay silent. Opening her social media, she typed a post, her fingers flying. I'm Dr. Sophia Carter, and I've spent years developing a method to heal fractures like my husband's. Prejudice doesn't change facts. I'm fighting for him and for truth. She hit send, her breath catching. Within minutes, the post gained traction, but the backlash was swift. Nexus employees, swayed by Eleanor's influence, commented, focus on your job, not drama. Others were crueler. Go back to where you came from. Sophia slammed her laptop shut, her chest tight. She'd faced racism before, but this was different. Public, personal, and aimed at her marriage. She returned to Dylan's room where he sat in his wheelchair, scrolling through his phone, his face drawn. Emily was gone, but her presence lingered like a stain. Dylan, Sophia said, her voice firm but raw. I can save your leg. My method works. I've seen it in trials. Let me do this. He looked up, his eyes conflicted. Sophia, I trust you, but my family's freaking out. The board's watching. Emily says, Emily, Sophia cut in, her voice rising. She's playing you, Dylan, and you're letting her. He flinched, his hands gripping the wheelchair's arms. She's just helping. You're turning this into a war. A war? Sophia's laugh was bitter. Your family's already declared it. They think I'm not good enough because of my skin, and you're not fighting for me. Dylan's eyes dropped, his silence louder than any words. Sophia's heart cracked, but she straightened, her resolve ironclad. I'm not giving up on you, she said, but I need you to choose me, Dylan, not them. She turned to leave, her white coat a stark contrast to the chaos within. Outside, the hospital buzzed, but Sophia felt alone, the weight of the world pressing down. Her phone buzzed again. Dr. Malik, found a witness from Claire's surgery. Call now. Her pulse surged. The truth was close, a beacon in the storm. She wouldn't let Dylan's family or his wavering heart dim her light. This wasn't just about saving his leg. It was about proving her worth. To him, to them, to herself. Sophia's footsteps echoed in the hospital's quiet corridor, the fluorescent lights casting her shadow long and jagged. It was past midnight, hours after she'd left Dylan's room, his refusal to fully back her still a fresh bruise. Dr. Malik's text about a witness in Claire's case burned in her mind, but she couldn't shake the image of Emily's hand on Dylan's shoulder, or the venomous comments flooding her social media post. Her fight wasn't just against prejudice. It was against a betrayal creeping closer to her heart. She slipped into a deserted lounge dialing Malik. His voice was low, urgent. Sophia, I found a nurse from Claire's surgery. She says the records were altered. Dr. Carter wasn't at fault. Meet me tomorrow. She's scared to talk. Altered? Sophia's breath caught, her mind racing. Who would cover that up? Someone with pull, Malik said. I'll dig deeper. Stay sharp. Sophia hung up, her pulse hammering. If Claire's death wasn't Dr. Carter's fault, the marshal's hatred of her was built on a lie someone had buried. She needed more evidence, but the hospital's sealed records were a fortress. She'd have to be surgical, precise, just like in the operating room. Her phone vibrated. Dylan calling again. She ignored it, but a notification caught her eye. A message from his phone, accidentally left open on their shared tablet in her office. Her fingers hesitated, then tapped. The screen lit up with a thread between Dylan and Emily. Her heart sank as she read. You don't need her drama, Dylan, Emily had written that evening. I can handle the board. Keep Nexus steady. I'm here for you, always. Dylan's reply was a dagger. I know, Em. I still love her. But it's hard. Sophia's vision blurred, the words searing into her. He still loved her, but he was confiding in Emily. She scrolled further, each message a fresh cut. Emily offering to step in at Nexus, Dylan thanking her for being there. It wasn't an affair, not yet, but it was a crack in their foundation, one Emily was prying open. She stormed back to Dylan's room, the hospital now a maze of her own anger. He was awake, his wheelchair by the window, city lights glinting off his pale face. Sophia, he said, relief in his voice. You're here. She didn't sit. I saw your text with Emily, she said, her voice low, lethal. You're telling her it's hard to love me? That she's there for you? Dylan's eyes widened, guilt flickering. You went through my phone? It was open on our tablet, she snapped. Don't dodge this, Dylan. You're letting her slither back into your life. Your family's pushing her, and you're not stopping it. He gripped the wheelchair's arms, his knuckles white. Emily's a friend, Sophia. She's helping with Nexus while I'm stuck like this. You're blowing it out of proportion. Blowing it out of proportion? Sophia's laugh was sharp, raw. She's calling me a gold digger online, Dylan. Your mother's saying I'll kill you like Claire's doctor supposedly did. And you're texting her about how hard it is to love me? Dylan's face crumpled. I loved Emily once, okay? Years ago, before you. My family thought she was perfect for me. But I chose you, Sophia. I married you. Her chest tightened, his words both a balm and a blade. Then why are you confiding in her? She demanded. Why are you letting them tear me down? You're too sensitive, he said, his voice rising. This isn't about race or Emily. It's about you stirring up trouble, digging into my family's past. Sophia stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Your family's past is why they hate me, and I'm not stopping until I know why Claire died. And who lied about it? Dylan's gaze hardened. You're obsessed, Sophia. You're making this about you. It is about me, she said, her voice trembling but resolute. Because I'm your wife, and they're trying to erase me. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Sophia, wait. I'm sorry. I'm just scared. This injury, the company, it's too much. She faced him, her heart torn. I'm scared too, Dylan. But I'm not running to someone else. I'm fighting for us. Are you? He looked away, his silence louder than any answer. Sophia walked out, her resolve stealing with each step. Back in her office, she pulled up the hospital's database again, her fingers flying. Malik's tip about altered records was a thread. She'd pull until it unraveled. A search revealed a sealed deposition from Claire's case, locked behind administrative clearance. She'd need help to access it, but she knew who to call, a former mentor with connections. As dawn broke, Sophia stood at her window, the city waking below. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Nexus CEO's wife faces backlash amid husband's crisis. Emily's selfie with Dylan was everywhere, fueling the narrative that Sophia was unfit. But Sophia wasn't just a wife or a surgeon. She was a warrior. The Marshals, Emily, even Dylan could doubt her. But they couldn't break her. The truth about Claire was out there, and with it, the power to expose their lies. She'd fight not just for Dylan's leg, but for her place in a world determined to cast her out. The hospital's antiseptic hum pulsed around Sophia as she stood outside the ICU, her hands trembling, but her resolve ironclad. It was 2:14 a.m., 3 days since Dylan's text with Emily had cracked her heart open. His condition had plummeted. Dr. Reynolds' surgery, pushed by Eleanor, had failed spectacularly. The infection in Dylan's fractured femur had spread, a bacterial wildfire threatening his life. Sophia's groundbreaking technique was his only hope, but the marshal's prejudice stood like a wall between her and the operating room. She'd spent hours pleading with the hospital board, her voice steady as she presented her research. Her bone regeneration method, backed by trials, could stabilize the fracture and fight the infection. But Eleanor's influence loomed. Her donations to the hospital carried weight. "We can't risk it," the board chair had said, citing concerns about her objectivity as Dylan's wife. Sophia knew the real reason: her skin. In Dylan's room, monitors beeped like a countdown. He lay feverish, his face ashen, his wheelchair abandoned by the bed. Sophia gripped his chart, her eyes scanning the grim numbers. White cell count soaring, antibiotics failing. "I can save you," she whispered, more to herself than to him. Eleanor burst in, her eyes blazing. "You will not touch him," she hissed. "Your kind already took Claire. I won't lose my son to another mistake." Sophia's blood boiled. "My kind? You mean a black surgeon?" "My method's proven, Eleanor. Your expert botched this, not me." Emily slipped in, her presence a venomous shadow. "Sophia, you're too emotional," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Let professionals handle this." "Professionals?" Sophia snapped, stepping forward. "Like the one who let an infection rage through him? I'm his best shot, and you know it." Dylan stirred, his voice weak. "Sophia, Mom's right. It's too risky." Her heart lurched. Even now, on the edge of death, he sided with them. She leaned closer, her voice fierce. "Dylan, I've spent years perfecting this. Trust me, please." Before he could answer, Eleanor grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. "Enough! You're not touching my son." Sophia wrenched free, her eyes flashing. The argument spilled into the hospital lobby, a glass-walled arena buzzing with nurses, patients, and visitors. The fluorescent lights glared down, exposing every raw nerve. Emily followed, her heels clicking like a predator's claws. A crowd gathered, sensing a spectacle. "Sophia, stop this," Emily said, loud enough for all to hear. "You're just a black opportunist riding Dylan's coattails. You think you can play hero?" The words hit like a slap, but Sophia stood tall, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "I'm a surgeon, Emily. I've saved lives while you've been posing for selfies. Step aside." Emily's smile twisted. "You're nothing but a fraud. Dylan deserves better. Someone like me, who belongs in his world." Sophia's fist clenched, her pulse a war drum. "His world? I'm his wife, Emily, and I'll save him, whether you like it or not." The crowd's whispers grew louder, phones raised to capture the drama. Eleanor stepped forward, her voice icy. "You'll destroy him, just like that doctor destroyed Claire." Sophia spun on her. "Claire's death wasn't Dr. Carter's fault. I'm close to proving it, and you know it." Eleanor's face paled, but before she could retort, Dylan rolled into the lobby, pushed by a nurse. His face was a mask of pain, sweat beading on his brow. "Sophia, stop!" he shouted, his voice hoarse. "You're making this worse." The words stung, but Sophia held her ground. "I'm fighting for you, Dylan. Why won't you fight for me?" His eyes flickered with guilt. But the pressure, Eleanor's glare, Emily's presence, the crowd's scrutiny, clouded his judgment. He wheeled closer, his voice breaking. "You're ruining everything." His hand lashed out, a desperate, fevered slap across Sophia's cheek. The lobby gasped, a collective intake of breath. Sophia staggered, the sting radiating through her. Her hand touched her face, her eyes wide with shock and betrayal. The crowd's phones clicked, capturing her humiliation. Emily's smirk was a blade, Eleanor's silence a condemnation. Sophia straightened, her voice low but resonant, slicing through the stunned silence. "You'll regret this, Dylan." Her eyes locked on his, unyielding despite the tears threatening to spill. "All of you will." She turned, her white coat billowing, and strode toward the surgical wing. The crowd parted, their whispers trailing her like ghosts. In her mind, the plan crystallized: a secret surgery, Tonight, during her graveyard shift, she'd risk her license, her career, everything, to save the man who'd just broken her heart. As she reached the elevator, her phone buzzed. Dr. Malik. Got the deposition. It's big. Meet now. Her heart raced. The truth about Claire was within reach, a weapon to dismantle the marshal's lies. But first, Dylan. She'd save him, not for love, not anymore, but to prove she was more than their prejudice could ever define. The elevator doors closed, sealing her in with her resolve. The world outside could judge her, betray her, but Sophia Carter was a surgeon, a scientist, a warrior. The lobby's sting faded, replaced by a fire that no slap could extinguish. She'd cut through the shadows, and when the light broke, they'd all see her for who she was. Sophia's hands steadied as she slipped into the operating room, the hospital's midnight hush cloaking her like a shroud. The sting of Dylan's slap still burned her cheek, but her focus was razor sharp, her white coat a mantle of purpose. Hours ago, in the lobby's glare, she'd vowed to save him, not for love, but to prove her worth. Now, in the sterile glow of OR7, she was risking everything. Her license, her career, her heart. Dylan lay on the table, sedated, his infected femur a ticking bomb. Her groundbreaking bone regeneration technique was his only chance, and she'd be damned if Eleanor or Emily stopped her. She'd orchestrated the operation with surgical precision. Using her graveyard shift, she'd swap schedules with a trusted colleague, ensuring no one would question her presence. The OR staff, loyal to her, worked in tense silence, their eyes flicking between her and the monitors. Dr. Malik's text about Claire's deposition lingered in her mind, but it would have to wait. This was about Dylan, about life and death. Sophia adjusted her mask, her voice low but commanding. Scalpel. The nurse handed it over, her hands steady despite the weight of their secret. Sophia made the first incision, her movements fluid, guided by years of research. Her technique, using a bioengineered scaffold to accelerate bone healing, had succeeded in trials but never on a case this dire. The infection had ravaged Dylan's femur, and Dr. Reynolds' botched repair had left shards of bone misaligned. She worked meticulously, cleaning the infection, aligning fragments, and implanting the scaffold. Halfway through, Dylan stirred, his anesthesia lightened by his fevered state. His eyes fluttered open, wild with panic. Sophia, he rasped, his voice a broken thread. What are you doing? Her heart lurched, but her hands didn't falter. Saving you, she said, her voice calm despite the tears pricking her eyes. Stay still, Dylan. You're operating? His voice rose, frantic. You betrayed my trust. I told you not to. The words cut deeper than his slap, but Sophia leaned closer, her gaze locking on his. You're dying, Dylan. I'm your only shot. Trust me, or lose everything. His eyes widened, fear and guilt warring within them. The anesthesiologist adjusted the drip, and Dylan's lids grew heavy, his protests fading. Sophia's tears fell, hidden by her mask, but her hands remained steady. She was saving the man who'd humiliated her, who'd let his family's prejudice poison their love. Every suture was a defiance, every cut a declaration. She was more than their scorn. Hours later, she closed the incision, her scaffold in place, and the infection was cleared. The monitors beeped steadily. Dylan was stable for now. Sophia stepped back, exhaustion crashing over her like a wave. The OR team exchanged glances, their silence heavy with respect and fear. He's alive because of you, the nurse whispered. Sophia nodded, but the victory felt hollow. She'd saved him, but at what cost? As she stripped off her gloves, an alarm blared. Not medical, but human. Eleanor's voice echoed from the hallway, shrill and furious. She's in there, isn't she? Operating on my son. Sophia braced herself as the OR doors swung open, revealing Eleanor, Emily, and a hospital administrator, their faces a storm of outrage. You reckless fool! Eleanor spat, her pearls trembling. You'll lose your license for this. Emily's eyes gleamed with triumph. You've gone too far, Sophia. The media's already outside. Sophia straightened, her voice cold. I saved his life. Your expert nearly killed him. Check the monitors. He's stable. The administrator hesitated, glancing at the chart. Dr. Carter, this is unauthorized. You violated protocol. Then fire me, Sophia said, her chin high. But I did what was right. Eleanor's face twisted. You're a disgrace, just like that doctor who took Claire. Sophia's eyes flashed. Claire's death wasn't Dr. Carter's fault. I'm close to proving it, and you're scared of what I'll find. Emily stepped forward, her voice loud for the gathering staff. You're delusional, Sophia. You're risking Dylan's life for your ego. Sophia's laugh was bitter. My ego? You're the one posing for cameras while he's dying. The argument spilled into the hallway, where reporters had infiltrated, their flashes blinding. Headlines were already forming. Rogue black surgeon risks CEO's life. Sophia's phone buzzed. Dr. Malik, deposition confirms cover-up. Meet now. Her heart raced, but the media storm was relentless, painting her as a reckless maverick. She returned to her office, locking the door against the chaos. Her hands shook as she dialed Malik. What's in the deposition? She asked, her voice raw. It names a white surgeon, Dr. Hayes, as the one who botched Claire's procedure, Malik said. The hospital pinned it on Carter to protect their own. I've got the nurse's testimony. Sophia's breath caught. The truth was within reach, but the cost was mounting. She'd saved Dylan, but the world was ready to crucify her. Her phone lit up with notifications, tweets calling her liar, opportunist. Yet in the quiet of her office, Sophia felt a fire reignite. She'd risked everything to save Dylan, not for him, but for herself, for the truth she carried, for the lives she'd sworn to protect. The marshals could scream, the media could vilify, but Sophia Carter was no one's victim. She'd operate again, not on flesh, but on lies, cutting until the light broke through. Sophia stood in her office, the dawn light slicing through the blinds, casting bars across her face. The hospital was quiet now, the media frenzy from her secret surgery on Dylan muted to a low hum. Her cheek still throbbed faintly from his slap 2 nights ago, but the fire in her chest burned brighter. Dr. Malik's call about the deposition had been a lifeline. Proof that Claire Marshall's death was pinned on the wrong surgeon, a black doctor scapegoated to shield a white colleague's mistake. Today, Sophia would wield that truth like a scalpel, cutting through the Marshall's lies. She clutched the deposition, its pages heavy with testimony from Nurse Ana Ruiz, who'd witnessed Claire's surgery 7 years ago. Dr. Hayes, a white surgeon with ties to the hospital board, had botched the procedure, ignoring critical signs of distress. The hospital, pressured by Eleanor's influence, had buried the truth, suspending Dr. Carter instead. Sophia's hands shook, not with fear, but with fury. This wasn't just about Claire. It was about every black doctor smeared by prejudice. Her phone buzzed. A hospital alert. Dylan was awake, his vitals strong. Her surgery had worked, pulling him back from the brink. She should have felt triumph, but all she felt was resolve. She headed to his room, the deposition tucked in her bag. The hallway buzzed with nurses' whispers, their eyes a mix of awe and apprehension. The media had dubbed her a reckless maverick, but Dylan's recovery was shifting the narrative. In his room, Dylan sat up, no longer wheelchair-bound, his leg braced but stable. His blue eyes met hers, filled with guilt and something softer. Hope. Sophia, he said, his voice raw. You saved me. I was wrong. She stood at the foot of his bed, her expression unyielding. You slapped me, Dylan, in front of everyone. You chose them over me. He winced, his hands gripping the sheets. I was out of my mind. Pain, fear, my family. I'm sorry, Sophia. I see you now. Her heart twisted, but she held firm. Seeing me isn't enough. You let them call me a fraud, a killer. I need more than apologies. Before he could respond, Eleanor stormed in, Emily trailing like a shadow. You're still here, Eleanor snapped. After that stunt, you should be in cuffs. Sophia turned, her voice cold as steel. Your son's alive because of me, and I have something you need to see. She pulled the deposition from her bag, holding it like a weapon. Claire's death wasn't Dr. Carter's fault. Dr. Hayes botched it, and your family covered it up to protect him. Eleanor's face paled, her pearls trembling. Lies! You're fabricating this to save yourself. Sophia stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Nurse Ruiz saw it all. The hospital buried the truth to keep your donations. Your prejudice ruined an innocent man's career, and you've been punishing me for it ever since." Emily laughed, sharp and desperate. "You're desperate, Sophia. Spinning stories to stay relevant." Sophia's gaze shifted to her, lethal. "Relevant? I saved Dylan when your experts failed. And you, Emily, you've been scheming to replace me, texting him, manipulating him. I have the messages." Emily froze, her smug facade cracking. Dylan's eyes widened, darting to Emily. "What's she talking about?" Sophia tossed her phone to him, the text thread open. "Read it. She's been playing you, Dylan, using your injury to worm her way back in." Dylan scrolled, his face darkening. "Emily, you said you were just helping with Nexus." Emily stammered, her charm faltering. I was, Dylan. She's twisting it." Sophia's voice cut through. "No more lies. I'm done being your scapegoat." The room fell silent, the truth a weight too heavy to deny. Eleanor's hands shook, but she said nothing. Dylan looked at Sophia, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know about Claire, about any of this." "Then make it right," Sophia said, her tone unwavering. "Your family's lies hurt more than just me. They destroyed Dr. Carter, and they're tearing us apart." She turned to leave, but Dylan called out, "Sophia, wait. I'll fix this, I swear." She paused, her back to him. "I need time, Dylan. Prove it with actions, not words." By noon, Sophia stood before a press conference, the hospital's atrium packed with reporters. She demanded this platform, leveraging Dylan's recovery to force the board's hand. Cameras flashed as she held up the deposition. 7 years ago, Dr. James Carter was wrongfully blamed for Claire Marshall's death, she said, her voice clear, resonant. Dr. Hayes made the error, and the hospital covered it up. I'm here to set the record straight. For Claire, for Dr. Carter, for every doctor judged by their skin. The crowd murmured, phones live streaming her words. Eleanor, watching from the back, looked ashen. Hours later, she issued a public apology, her voice clipped on national news. "We were misled. We regret the harm caused." The hospital followed, reinstating Dr. Carter's record posthumously. Online, the tide turned. Sophia's speech went viral, her courage hailed as a beacon. But in her office alone, she felt no triumph. Dylan's text came pleading, "I was wrong. I'm cutting Emily out. Please, let's talk." She stared at the screen, her heart torn. He'd betrayed her, but he was trying. Was it enough? She looked at the city skyline, its lights a reminder of her resilience. The truth had shattered the Marshall's lies, but her fight wasn't over. She'd saved Dylan, exposed the cover-up, but her heart needed time to heal. The shadows were lifting, but Sophia Carter would decide her light. Sophia stood at the podium, the city skyline a glittering backdrop through the conference center's windows. It had been a month since her press conference had shattered the Marshall's lies, and the world had taken notice. Her speech, raw and unflinching, had sparked a movement. Her bone regeneration technique was now headline news, saving athletes and accident victims alike. Tonight, she was accepting an award from the National Medical Association, her name a beacon for equity in healthcare. But as the crowd's applause washed over her, Sophia's thoughts drifted to Dylan, to the fracture in their marriage that no surgery could mend. She gripped the podium, her voice steady. "This award isn't just for me," she said, her dark eyes sweeping the room. "It's for Dr. James Carter, whose career was stolen by prejudice, and for every doctor told they don't belong. We don't just heal bodies, we heal truths." The audience roared, but Sophia's heart was heavy. Dylan's texts had flooded her phone since the truth about Claire's death broke. Apologies, promises, pleas for a second chance. She'd kept her distance, needing space to process his betrayal, his slap, his wavering trust. Yet he'd surprised her, cutting ties with Emily and publicly distancing himself from his mother's influence. Could she trust him again? Backstage, Dylan waited, no longer confined to his wheelchair, his leg healed by her hands. His suit was crisp, but his eyes were raw, vulnerable. "Sophia," he said, stepping forward, "you were incredible up there. I'm so proud." She crossed her arms, her gaze guarded. "Proud? You weren't proud when you slapped me in front of the world, Dylan. He flinched, his voice low. I was wrong. I was weak, scared, and I let my family's poison get to me. I've cut them out. Emily, my mom, their whole circle. I'm trying to make this right. Sophia's chest tightened. His words stirred the love she'd buried. But trust was a wound that healed slowly. You hurt me, Dylan. Not just the slap, the silence, the doubt. I need more than words. He nodded, pulling an envelope from his jacket. I'm funding your initiative, a foundation to fight bias in medicine. Nexus is backing it, full support. And tonight, I'm dedicating our annual gala to you. She took the envelope, her fingers brushing his. Inside was a contract, millions pledged to her cause. Her eyes met his, searching. This is a start, she said, her voice softening but firm. But it's not enough. I need you to stand with me, not just behind me. I will, he said, his voice breaking. I'm all in, Sophia. Whatever it takes. She held his gaze, the weight of their past heavy between them. I'll give you a chance, she said finally, but it's on my terms. No more shadows, Dylan. You fight for me, for us, or we're done. He nodded, a spark of hope in his eyes. I'm ready. Days later, Sophia stood in a sleek conference room, launching her foundation. The Carter Alliance, named for Dr. James Carter, whose vindication had fueled her fight. The room buzzed with donors, doctors, and activists, their energy a testament to her impact. Her initiative aimed to train diverse medical professionals and expose systemic bias, with Dylan's funding as its backbone. She glanced at him across the room, speaking to a reporter, his words clear. My wife's work is changing lives. I'm honored to support her. The media had shifted, now calling Sophia a trailblazer, her story drowning out the earlier vitriol. Online, hashtags like Watcher and Dr. Carter Rises trended, and her speech replayed millions of times. But for Sophia, the victory was bittersweet. She'd won the war against the Marshals' lies, against Emily's schemes, but her heart still bore scars. That night at Nexus's gala, Dylan took the stage, the crowd a sea of corporate elite. Sophia sat at the front, her black gown shimmering under the lights. Dylan's voice carried, steady and proud. Tonight, we honor Dr. Sophia Carter, he said, his eyes locked on hers. Her courage, her brilliance, saved my life and countless others. She's not just my wife, she's my hero. The applause was deafening, but Sophia's eyes stayed on Dylan. His words were a public vow, a step toward redemption. She rose, joining him on stage, her hand finding his. The crowd cheered, but in that moment it was just them, two souls navigating a fractured bond. As the gala ended, Sophia stood on the balcony, the city sprawling below. Dylan joined her, his presence warm but tentative. I meant every word, he said. I'm yours, Sophia, if you'll have me. She looked at him, her heart open but cautious. We'll rebuild, she said, but it's a long road. Keep showing up. He smiled, a promise in his eyes. Below, the city pulsed, a canvas of light against the dark. Sophia's foundation was growing, her technique saving lives, her voice reshaping medicine. She'd turned pain into power, prejudice into progress. The shadows of betrayal lingered, but Sophia Carter was a beacon, her light unyielding. As she stepped into the future, with Dylan by her side, she knew one truth. Her fight had just begun, and she'd face it on her terms. The journey of Sophia Carter has been a blaze through darkness, a tale of a black surgeon who defied prejudice, betrayal, and doubt to save her husband and unearth a buried truth. From the venom of a family's scorn to the sting of a public slap, Sophia's courage turned pain into power, her scalpel carving not just bone but justice. Her story isn't just about love or medicine, it's about standing tall when the world tries to break you, about turning shadows into light. As Sophia steps into her future, her foundation rising, her heart cautiously open, we're left with a question. What does it mean to fight for your truth? Now it's your turn. What moved you in Sophia's saga? Did her defiance spark your fire? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from, what time it is, and how this story hit you. Was it the betrayal, the triumph, or the love that lingered despite it all? Your voice matters, just as Sophia's did. Drop a subscription to join our storytelling family, and let's keep the light burning together. Thank you for walking this path with us, for feeling every cut and victory alongside Sophia. Your support fuels these tales, and we're grateful for every moment you've spent in our world. The shadows may loom, but stories like this remind us we can rise above. Stay tuned for more journeys, new heroes, new battles, new truths. Until then, keep shining, keep fighting, and we'll meet again soon in the next story's glow.